And now all of a sudden, working from home, quarantine, working remotely, it's become a thing. And some of us are finding it difficult to kind of move out of that. Or it could be something like in a relationship, you're facing a relationship dilemma where you're stuck, you want to come out, you know it's not good for you, it's getting toxic, but you're finding it difficult to move on. Or it could be career and your ambitions, you're stuck in a space, you're not able to move on. You've probably got the gist of what I'm talking about. Yes. How do you work towards getting unstuck and moving on? Good evening, namaste, and welcome to another beautiful, gorgeous episode of Humans on Happiness, where we catch up with the likes of our beautiful human, yourself and me, to understand and capture their hacks and habits of how they lead a everyday happier life. The episode today is called Business Not As Usual, all about getting unstuck. Have you ever imagined, have you faced a situation where you've been stuck in a certain situation and are finding it difficult to move on? So to talk about that, we've got a very fun-loving, colorful person, Vickie Burkinshaw in Wagga. Welcome, Vickie.
Thank you so much.
Something that you need to know about her, that she is a business owner, a change maker, MC facilitator, and basically, guess what? She believes that you can achieve a lot in your pajamas. Now, we'll talk more about that. Yes, you heard right. A lot can be done in your pajamas. And what she's doing today, or what she's doing now, is something very different. She is the owner of a cafe, a bookshop, an art gallery, a function space. All in all, she runs a space which absolutely attracts positive vibes. One of my favorite spaces in Wagga, the Curious Rabbit Cafe in Wagga. If you had to share your story or your journey in a 60-second reel, tell us the highlights or tell us the story of Vickie.
Well, I have a superpower.
Oh,
you didn't know
yes.
this. There's something you didn't know about me. I have this little superpower, and it's called self-esteem.
Wow.
And for me, that has been the reason that I'm able to do everything that I'm able to do, is because I have absolute confidence in myself. And I know it's rare for people to say that, but I was brought up in a household of love. I've always been told that I was remarkable. I've always been shown kindness. I've been told, I'm beautiful, I can do whatever I want. And I truly believed it. Like, I actually believed it, and I still believe it. And I think for me, that has enabled me to try so many things and to take risks and to embrace people, because at the end of the day, it's like, if you can't love yourself,
yes.
And I know people find that really uncomfortable, but
right.
I don't. It's just, you have to love yourself before you can love other people.
Let's come to reality. Not every single person has such people around them. How can someone build, or rather even have any basis of self-esteem when they do not think anything of themselves, and there is so many of them around?
I know, and look, and that is one of the things that really frustrates me, is that self-esteem is not a wishy-washy subject.
Yes.
It is the root of all power. It's why people can diminish our power and take our power away from us.
Correct.
If we feel that we're compromised, or we feel that we're diminished in their eyes. And I think, if anything, it's about working with our young people, which is what I'm extremely passionate about,
yes.
particularly through the Curious curious rabbit is to work with our young people, is to tell them that they're remarkable, is to remind them we are, because we're all born. I mean, I think one of the things is if you look at babies, if you look at children, they have the happiness gene, right? And all of a sudden we get to adults and we feel compromised by being happy or owning who we are and what we do, because we're expected to be something else. So
very true.
I think if anything, it's about finding the ways that you can tap into those things that truly make you contented, that make you happy, that bring you curiosity.
What would you say are the three most important values for you personally?
Kindness, because I think if we operate with a sense of kindness, with a sense of understanding, if we're always approaching people with kindness, that opens so many opportunities, because we don't know what's going on in someone's world at any one time. So if the first point is kindness, it's absolute respect, for the world that we live in. I think if every single child learnt biodiversity, we might be in a different state from a climate perspective.
Very true.
So valuing the things that we probably take for granted on a day-to-day basis. So pure respect for each other and for our environment, and of course love.
That's beautiful. I would absolutely give a big stamp of approval, and that's been my cause, or that's been my mission with Culture of Happiness as well, to spread the word of kindness, love, and respect. Right. So, moving on to getting unstuck. In fact, I read on one of your blogs, my goal is not to get stuck, but to get through. What does the term getting stuck or unstuck mean to you?
Yeah, look, I think it's a mindset, right? It's feeling that you have to do what is expected of you. You have to do what you think is right for the time. That sometimes we fall into those traps of routine, and the things that are easy for us are the best things for us when they're not necessarily. So getting unstuck is getting out of your comfort zone, is making yourself uncomfortable. It is reinforcing the value of being curious. Like for me, getting stuck is that I can be you would be surprised with this, very introverted, right? I love my grounding, I love my garden, I love my own company. And that can be a safety net.
Right.
But that diminishes my responsibility to my community, to those things that I really believe in and care about, which is showing love and kindness, not just for myself but for others. So I'm far more valuable to the community if I'm unstuck, if I'm out there, if I'm challenging my thinking.
So let me play the devil's advocate here. Why do I need to get unstuck? Like, why can't I be comfortable? Why can't I be where I'm comfortable? Like you said, you're happy with your garden, you're happy being introverted. Why do I need to care about the society, community? I'm happy where I am. Shouldn't I be caring about that first?
Yeah, but I guess if everybody felt that way and if everyone was doing that way, then as a society we become a collective of individuals. And I guess one of the things, that is, I think the biggest disease outside of the pandemic is loneliness.
Very true.
And if we, become too stuck in being comfortable, then we run the risk of, I guess, isolating ourselves from the community, which is, I think that the dearth of loneliness is a tragedy. That we have young people who are lonely, that we have old people who are lonely, who have no connection to community. And that's what happens if you live within those boundaries of just you and a small group, is that you can't grow, you can't change. And it makes it really hard for us as a society to, want to save the planet, for example. Is that if we're comfortable, doing what we're doing, then we're not going to work out that outside of our fence there is a crisis going on.
If Isaac Newton or all of the inventors of the world had been stuck with just the way the world was going, we wouldn't have had half the inventions that we've got. If someone is stuck in a situation, how can they unstick, or rather get unstuck themselves?
Yeah, look, I think it's about, you know, internalizing, because sometimes we are really fearful of what we really want. And I think people don't spend enough time actually realizing what are those things that bring you joy, rather than, you know, doing what you do, you know, every day. It's like, what might I explore that I might like, or I might not like it either. But it's really about saying, what are the things that make me smile, that bring me joy, that you know, that tickle my fancy, my curiosity.
Yep.
What are those things that I've probably been holding back for a very long time that I haven't been able to manifest? And it, you know, it happens, you know, so much later in life when people let go of some of those things. But we should be able to bring that out, you know, in our young people really early.
Have you ever been in a situation where you were stuck and kind of did something to kind of get yourself unstuck?
Yeah, well, I guess the biggest example was for me after working for 7 years with the Body Shop in a job that I really loved, and travelling the world, and you know, doing the corporate thing, as I know that you've done, and I loved it. And then I gave birth to my first child, Lucy, and I thought I'd just pop her out and get back to work, you know, back on the corporate train, not preparing myself for the little love affair that happened when I saw her and when I connected with her, and going, okay, that changes things a lot. And the expectation and everybody's understanding of who I was would have thought that that was the Vickie that would be back at work in 6 weeks' time.
Wow, right.
And continue doing
what you're doing. Yeah.
And I had to kind of really dig deep and go, I know that that's the expectation. I know that that's what I thought I would want to do, and thought, I can't do this. I can't go back to that space and leave her in the care of somebody else.
Right.
And so I had to make some choices, and my choices were, which, you know, wisely or not, was to have more time with her and then start my own business. And you know, with the crazy idea that you had more flexibility when you run your own business when you work for someone else. So hence the world that I you know, then entered into.
So how did you kind of sustain through that challenging period? Because I hear that when you decided to get unstuck, and like anything getting unstuck, it's not an easy process.
No, it's not.
So how was that journey? How was that?
Yeah, look, and it was really hard to let go of that person. And all I can say, there was a lot of baked beans on toast for for the first 12 months of Lucy's life. But you know, things, you know, at the end of the day, you do what you have to do.
Is that the inception of Purple Pyjamas?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the reason it's called Purple Pyjamas is when I had Lucy, and she actually came 4 weeks early, so I hadn't finished work at the time.
Right.
So I had these visions of, you know, getting massages and all this kind of stuff in the last 4 weeks. But no, she decided to come early. So it was like I rang up work to say, I don't think I'm coming in today, I'm having a baby.
Wow.
And my mother very beautifully packed me off with a set of purple pyjamas to hospital, and I was like, what do I need those for? I realised very quickly why you need pyjamas when you have children, and also the beauty of pyjamas on children, and they're, you know, at the time too, when you're exhausted as a parent, to put a freshly bathed child in their pyjamas and tucked into bed is such a beautiful thing. And then that's time for you then as well. So as I said, in my pyjamas over those 12 months, Lucy was she slept a lot. She was a really easy baby. I wrote a book. I started a business. I did all of those things.
Wow.
Mostly in my, you know, purple pyjamas.
So from Purple Pyjamas, then we have 3 different Vickies here. Obviously the Body Shop Vickie, the Purple Pyjamas Vickie, and the Curious Rabbit Vickie. Talk to us about the transformation from Purple Pyjamas to Curious Rabbit.
Yeah, look, I guess probably more the connection is that Purple Pyjamas is always about providing people a safe way to change.
Yes.
In a safe space, and people don't like change.
Right.
And when you're working as a business consultant, it's more or less, I'm calling you baby ugly, right? I'm the person with that job.
Correct.
To say, why don't we think about this way? So you have to create, you know, these frameworks where people feel really safe. And I guess one of the things that happened after, moving from Melbourne, moving to the Rock and looking in Wagga is when I saw the opportunity, and I came in to buy a book and ended up walking out buying a bookshop.
And that's a true story. That's the story of Curious Cabbage.
That's it. And I was, looking for a specific book, and then the business was for sale, and part of me was, in saying, well, I've got all this business consultancy training, surely I could turn what was essentially an empty shell into something, a little bit more interesting and
so
strong enough.
If you were to write the textbook, suppose they gave you an opportunity to come and teach self-esteem and confidence at school, what would be your first 3 chapters?
Is that do not take any notice of what anyone says about you ever. Unless it's remarkable and beautiful.
Absolutely.
It's developing that thick skin, and I guess one of the things that when I teach people about business is the first thing you need to understand is you need to develop that skin, that thick skin.
Yep.
Again, back to these 3 chapters that you'd write, is that play to your strengths.
Yes.
Like my frustration with the education system is that they'll say hey Vickie, you're really great at maths, but you're lousy at English, so what are we going to focus on? English, not maths. Focus on maths with me, because I'm good at it and I love it, and that's what I'm passionate about. But we focus on people's weaknesses and we don't focus on people's strengths. And so I think the chapter would be is challenge everything you're taught.
Yes.
Challenge everything that is said about you. Go inside as much as you can to say what truly makes me happy.
That's wonderful. How important is optimism?
I think optimism is really important because then you will jump at opportunities. So I think optimism is about taking a risk, is about saying what's the worst possible thing that could happen if I jumped. So that sort of constant challenge within yourself is to be a better version of yourself, for yourself and for other people as well. Because if we're better within ourselves, then we're better for other people.
I like that. If we're better within ourselves, we're better for other people. Because ask yourselves, you think someone's miserable, you think that the world's not good, but then have you ever self-reflected inside? What is it that you're giving out to the world? You want the world to be a kinder place. How much kindness do you throw out? What would be your 3 pieces of advice for someone who's stuck in a job, stuck in a relationship, stuck due to COVID and pandemic, to get unstuck, move on, and come out of their drums and dramas in life?
Yeah, look, I think in terms of communicating that, like unpacking it, what is it about? Whether that's writing it down, for some people that works, whether that's talking to someone about it, whatever way to get it outside of yourself, and then to unpack it to say, well, what within that I thought it might have been. Like, because sometimes on the surface we think something is making us unhappy or miserable, but when we pack it down, it's like, well, what can I control and what can't I control? And part of that, getting it out there first, is to say which of the things within this experience, part of my lived experience at this very moment, can I control?
Right.
And how do I take control of that to make the situation better? And what are the things that I can't control? And how do I let them go? Very,
very, very important. So that does bring us to the most exciting and last segment, Quick Fire 5. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Fantastic. To your first question, 3 famous people you'd like to be stuck on an island with.
I'd like to have my time again with Anita Roddick, who's the founder of The Body Shop.
Right.
Because I think she's fascinating. One of my, most favourite composers, Peter Scolthorpe.
What's been the biggest lie you've managed to get away with?
The thing that I used to lie most about it was smoking, because I knew that when I worked at the Canberra Theatre, a lot of the journalists were smokers, so I'd go and palm a cigarette off so I could have a conversation.
Fair enough. But you've never
do
smoked?
what you have to do.
But you were never a smoker?
No.
Wow, wonderful. World without books or a world without art? Which one?
Whoa, that's crazy. That's well, I think you can find words in art. Yeah, So
interesting. If you could play the creator and redesign human beings, what's the one feature you would like to add other than the ability to fly?
I think for people to be able to sustain eye contact, talk to someone and understand what's going on through their eyes. So I think the ability to see beyond what they're saying to you to what they're thinking would be an incredible attribute for people to have.
Would you rather go back to change your past, or would you rather go into the future to kind of advise your future self?
Yeah, look, I think never go back, never look backwards, because at the end of the day, it creates who you are. Your lived experience creates who you are right at this very moment. And
Right.
I would not, wish anything different from anyone I've ever met, to every bad experience, every good experience that I've ever had. I think that's really important, because what that does is set you up for the future, in helping you to find what you want your future to look like. So I'd never go backwards.
Well, that does bring us to the end, Vickie. It's been wonderful having a chat with you, as always. I can only wish you Godspeed. I don't like to say all the best, so I can only wish you Godspeed in your continued journey to spread the word of curiosity. Thank you very much, Vickie. And yes,